So what are the different kinds of fasting? So in this video, I'm just going to go over kind of the three big types of fasting. There's intermittent fasting, and then that plays into longer fasting or just fasting. There's also kind of subgroups of broth fasting, and I'll go a little bit into juice fasting as well too. Okay, so intermittent fasting. This is probably your easiest into fasting, and it's something you can do as a practice that you do every day for the rest of your life if you really wanted to. Intermittent fasting is just defined as fasting for less than 24 hours. And so what you're really doing is you're eating all your calories or all your food in certain time frames and fasting for the remainder of time. So the easiest way to get into fasting is to start with intermittent fasting, and a lot of people do it already, and it's the 12-hour fast. And so you eat at 6 p.m. and then you don't eat another calorie until 6 a.m. And so lo and behold, most of us are intermittent fasting already, but the real benefits start as we increase that time frame a little bit. And so when we get into the kind of the 16 plus, most commonly the 18 to 20 hour fast, and so that means typically you're eating at 6 p.m. and then you're not eating again until like 2 o'clock, or even later than that, for longer periods of fasting. That's the practice I do. I go from 6 p.m. to around 2 p.m. most of the time. And so what we're doing there is we're compressing our food and calories into a shortened window, and then our body processes that, and then it goes into a fasted state for the remainder of that time. So what that's going to do is it's going to prioritize fat burning as a resource, because the carbohydrate energy will be burned up much faster than that 18-hour window. And in fact, when you're doing this all the time, your body wants to preserve those carbohydrates in your muscles and your liver for very quick energy releases during periods of exercise or exertion. And so that's why you have glycogen, which is a form of carbohydrate stored in your muscles and in your liver. And so those are usually your first resources you go to when you have a sharp increase in your metabolic rate, like when you exercise. But for your base metabolic rate, your body will shift to primarily using fat as an energy source. And that's great news, because fat is always going to be in our diet, which is a good thing, and it has lots of energy there, which is also a good thing. And so when we can train our body to use fat as a primary resource, we're not going to be accumulating fat as we age, because we're not just burning sugar all the time. And so that's kind of the intermittent fasting. The little bit beyond that, and it's great to do practices of longer periods of fasting, like quarterly or biannually, and that's where we're fasting for longer than 24-hour periods. Now the big benefits, mind you, are going to kick in around after that 36-hour mark, more commonly but 48 hours and beyond. 3 days is also a big kind of time frame to get into the really big benefits of autophagy and stem cell release. And so this is where you're simply not eating, not consuming calories for that entire time frame. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I haven't eaten a meal in almost 5 days now. I'm less than 12 hours away from kind of my first calories in 5 days. And so that's kind of my definition of this kind of fast. There are some loopholes in here. Some people will take some supplements and different things like that. But the way that I was finding in the research that's easiest to find it is to simply not have any calories. Okay, so no calories, so that means no carbs, no fats, no proteins. And so what I'm doing, what I'm drinking is a lot of water, but then I'm also drinking coffee, which helps with appetite suppression. Doesn't have, as long as it's black coffee, doesn't have any of that in it. Green tea and other teas, just read the label. Sometimes there are actually some stuff in tea, so just not like just regular teas. And so those are allowing me to kind of just move through this fast pretty comfortably, actually. Okay, and so the next one, it would be a broth fast. So broth is kind of like soup. So like the liquid in a soup is a broth traditionally. And so that broth coming from bones is your best source of vegetable broth, but for the fasting, we'd want to stick with a bone broth fast. What we're doing there is we're giving our body calories, but it's pretty much just protein and just fat. And not a lot of fat. And so the main protein that's in it is collagen. And so this is really, people do this kind of fasting to really kind of improve their gut health. And so they're giving their gut a break by not consuming foods that are really kind of difficult to break down and digest. Broth is very easy, but we're just giving it very easy resources to repair the gut lining. And so broth has a lot of collagen in it, and what really just helps reseal the gut. And so you're just giving it essentially the nutrient it needs to repair itself. And so it can just digest it and then use it right there on the spot. So broth fasting is actually a great way to introduce yourself to fasting. It's giving you a little bit of calories, and the proteins in that can also be converted into sugar through your body, and that'll be giving you calories that you need just for kind of moving around. And it's a great way if you're not in that fat burning mode very easily yet. Broth fasting is a great introductory fast to help start to train your body to get into that fasted state a little easier, a little bit more comfortably. Okay. The next one that I've done before, I actually did this back in chiropractic school. I did a 7-day juice fast. And what that is where I had a juicer and I was just making raw fruit and veggie juices, and that was all I ate. And so this is very different from the other kinds of fasting because it is very actually nutrient dense. It's probably more nutrient dense than your standard diet. During that fast, I was probably consuming over 3,000 calories a day because of all the sugars and nutrients in fruits and vegetables in its concentrated form in a juice. And so a juicer takes away all the kind of pulps, and there's a lot of benefit to the pulp too, but basically the pulp is the difficult thing for your body to digest and pass through, and it's good for some reasons. But for a juice fast, basically you're taking all that load off your gut. All the food is already broken down, so your stomach doesn't have to break things down. All your, again, in your digestion, it doesn't have to be breaking down. All it has to do is absorb it. And so in a juice fast, you're just giving very nutrient dense, lots of vitamins, lots of minerals to your body, and just making it very easy to get all the resources it needs to heal itself. This is very popular for a lot of different people. People do this indefinitely, actually. And so it does work really well, and it works for weight loss, but also it's just a great overall health thing to do. So those are the main different kinds of fasting. In the next video, I'm going to dive into how you can start into your own fasting journey, just to answer some specific questions about how to do it well and how to do it safely and comfortably. So I look forward to seeing you in that video. Bye for now.